That's what happens when you got a band that's on fire. Another hand from my brother, Charles Patine, Leon Alexander Jr. I don't know, that commercial interruption was brought to you by Make America Great Again. So I'm going to do this. Now, I need everybody just to remember what I'm going to say. Because this moves kind of quickly, then moves kind of slowly. Sort of like government. A little quickly, a little slowly. Now, this is an education beat. Now, when it goes up, down, up, down, up, down. This is Donald Trump in E flat. I'm going to tell you a little story about myself. I wasn't always a comedian. Some of you may know, I was a school teacher when I first got out of college. And some of you are looking at me like, you taught school. No wonder why the kids can't read. Now, I knew it was time to get out of the education business. I'm not a fool. I knew it was time to get out when I had a little class. And I said, class, today we're going to talk about space in the solar system. Space in the solar system. I said, before we get started, I want to know who's the first black man in space. Little Booger raised his hand and said, Darth Vader. Which brings us to our president. Let's take it down a little bit. Okay. My first year teaching will illustrate to you what you are really dealing with in terms of a presidential personality. Now, this requires a little slow thinking and a little fast thinking, okay, at the same time. Donald Trump in E flat. My first year of teaching, I taught severely emotionally disturbed children, which means that makes me uniquely qualified to talk about this president right now. No knock or disrespect to kids who are severely emotionally disturbed, but we're going to have to go there. My first year teaching was rough, highlighted by the fact that my first week of teaching, I had a student that would get up at 2 o'clock on the dot, get up, and he would urinate on the floor. We were sitting around like, what is going on? He did it Monday, he did it Tuesday, he did it Wednesday, he did it Thursday and Friday, right? Now, the first week, we were outraged. Oh, my gosh, I can't believe this is going on. What's happening? Oh, my gosh. Second week comes. 2 o'clock comes, he got up, and he urinated on the floor again. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But the reaction was different. People were compassionate, like, do you need a hug? Do you want to talk to somebody? Is everything all right at home? Now, the third week, this will help you out. The third week, at 2 o'clock on Monday, he got up and he urinated on the floor again. All over the floor. Me and the kids looked up, checked their watch, and we said, hey, it's 2 o'clock. So with Donald Trump, every day is 2 o'clock.
Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi barakatuh, family. How are you? I'm Preacher Miles, host of the SOS, the Shout Out Show. This is normally will be a Throwback Thursday, but I think it's almost like a Throw Up Thursday after yesterday. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope everybody's spirit is well. Yesterday we had a trying time. History was made, not good history, bad history. The breaching of the U.S. Capitol building had been breached since the British did it in 1814. And it only took a president 4 years to have it breached by people who are actually citizens here in the United States. What am I talking about, brothers and sisters? Well, it's an understanding that I think we need to clear up here. I was happy to show you the clip that I did. Uh, Donald Trump and E flat. Now, what that says, brothers and sisters, is it really is a mark or understanding about not so much Donald Trump, but the way we shift shape information around people. We create narratives around people to explain behavior away. And at some point in time, you can't explain behavior away. It was just bad, brothers. This is just bad. Now, before we get started, I want to give a shout out. Anybody who's coming on the show for the first time, this is a shout out show. I'm Preacher Mars. Those things don't change. We come on at 6 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Central, and 3 o'clock on the West Coast. What we're going to talk about today is, yes, indeed, in 2018, I said it's 2 o'clock. In 2020, it's 2 o'clock in one of the biggest, most dramatic ways that you can ever imagine. Because it wasn't just 2 o'clock for Donald Trump, it was 2 o'clock for a lot of people to do the same thing, to react the same way, to treat democracy the same way. So if you're coming on the show for the first time, brothers and sisters, I apologize. Like I said, normally this is Throwback Thursday, but sometimes you have to step into a space and you have to own it, you have to acknowledge it. I'm going to try and do that in this brief little time that I have you. So if you're going on the show for the first time, simple instructions, please click the subscribe button, notification button, like button if you like the show. If you have comments, and this is really about a comment show, because I have some already in the box I'm going to get to. This is a comment show. If you have something you want to say it. Say it. Something has gone back, brothers and sisters, whereby we are not, we're not voicing our opinion. Somehow, someplace, the will of the people is being lost to the will of the lost people. Meaning that the laws that we've been told to obey, particularly African Americans, Latinos, people of color, we're taught to obey laws that they're not even natural laws. These are laws that restrict our movement, restrict our mobility. They curtail dreams, if you will. They give license to people to say, no, you can't do this, no, you can't do that. Freedom for these people is not an option unless they give it to you. Now, let me be real clear moving forward. I said some things yesterday, and I went back and watched the tape, and I did say them. I meant them, brothers and sisters, because I think we have to get out of this thing where we're talking in codes, if you will. You know, they use the term dog whistle in politics, but there's no dog whistle, brothers and sisters. I hear you clearly. And what we're going to do at this part in time, I'm going to break down a few things, and feel free to break down things with me, but I'm going to break down a few things to let us know exactly where we are. Because some of us think this whole thing that happened yesterday with the storming of the Capitol and people being arrested, no. There's some very vivid pictures that have burned in my mind that let me know exactly where I am, why I'm here, and what I need to do in terms of my own success, safety, and purposefulness in this society. Before I do that, let me go ahead and give my shout outs to people. If you're tuning in also, my stars in the building are already here. Sister Sultana, she's our consultant producer for the shout out show, a tireless soldier, always here on the show, making sure things go well, make sure I'm on my game, making sure you guys are on your game. A credit to the team. They say teamwork makes the dream work, but she definitely makes the dream work. Sister Christy Santiago, Alaikum Assalam Rahmatullahi wa Barakatuh. Sister, I'm trying to have a good week. This was a weird week, but I'm trying to have a good week. And when I say trying to have a good week, don't get me wrong. I'm grateful to be here. But I do worry and I do carry the concerns of people who, in some regards, can't protect themselves. In some regards, they don't have the apparatus and the protocol to make sure that their health is taken care of, that their safety is taken into concern. And you know what? They're able to provide for themselves, where even if they have difficulties, there have to be levers and branches they can grab on to pull themselves up. Yesterday, I didn't see any. Yesterday, I did not see any. It wasn't just domestic terrorism, okay? It was entitlement terrorism. Entitlement terrorism. And if anybody watched the protest from Black Lives Matter, I'm here to tell you, they had armies down on the mall. They had armies in front of those statues and tourist sites. And yesterday, I'm trying to figure out where in the world did they get these people from security? I'm like, they must have just been hired from the local 7-Eleven on the roller skating rink, because that's the worst type of security I ever saw. And then I thought to myself, I thought to myself, being small minded for a moment, being petty, I said, I bet you, because I know that the DC, mayor of DC cannot call in the National Guards. I said, I bet you Trump did not call in the National Guard or he hesitated. He hesitated. You know where I got that thought from, brothers and sisters? I'm going to tell you where I got it from. I got it from the movie Rosewood with Ving Rhames and Don Cheadle, where a group, one town decided to go decimate another town off a rumor, brothers and sisters, off a rumor that wasn't true. It was a lie. But they took it upon themselves, even though they knew it was a lie. It was an opportunity to decimate this town. The town of Sumner, which was white, working class, poor, and the town of Rosewood, which had people who were black progressives. They were sort of like the preemptive, they were sort of like the Black Wall Street in Tulsa. These people were doing for self, building their own business, and the animosity of seeing people who look like you doing better, despite the fact they've been handicapped by society. They couldn't handle it. So herein we have that thing. So let me keep this going. Okay, so 25 should have been the number of the day. They should have put the 25th Amendment in effect today. That takes courage. That takes a lot of courage. And I'm here to tell you something. When you're a politician, over a long period of time, courage is not the thing that keeps you in office. Repetitiveness keeps you in office. Understanding the balances of status quo keep you in offices. How to write a bill that you know nobody's going to sign. How to write a bill that you know is never going to pass. But it gives you credit. It gives you credibility. It gives you capital in those situations. All right, Brother Derek. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Derek. So you guys are in Saginaw or where y'all? How's Auntie doing? Let me know how Auntie's doing. I'm still making prayer for her. I hope that situation is improving. I hope she didn't watch TV yesterday. It was a mess. It was a hot mess. Hot mess. Brother Ataf, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, man. I'm safe. You know, and I'm gonna tell you guys something that I thought was really interesting with all of these protesters. They didn't just show up yesterday. They've been here. Like if you went out to the store, grocery store or something, you might see them with the red MAGA hats on. But they were civil. They were civil. You know, this was staged. And let me tell you what I mean by stage. Meaning that there are people who pull particular levers like you in a play. And in that play, we all play certain roles. And in the interim, when you start really thinking about it, it was staged to a T. The only thing that happened that they couldn't pull out was this whole debacle could not be blamed on a person of color or a person of a different religion, a person of a different gender, or a person from another country across the border. When they walked into the chambers of the Capitol, brothers and sisters, when they walked into the chamber, all those politicians, what they saw were the people who regulate their lives. They saw people, politicians, though they couldn't get at them. They saw the space where their life effectively was controlled, and for many of them, was stagnant. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Ree. Hope you're doing well up in Michigan. Give Auntie a big hug. My man Adam Khan, what's going on, brother? All the way from Canada. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. We got all the way from Egypt. Well, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brother Shamel Hashish. Man, happy to have you on the show. What are they talking about the United States over in Egypt, Shamel? Did you see what happened yesterday here in the States with Donald Trump and Pence and Rudy Giuliani? Did you see? It should have been white folk going crazy. That's what it should have been. And I'm gonna back up too. There's Caucasian. My grandfather says there's Caucasians, there's white folks, then there's crackers. Yesterday it was straight up crackers doing that thing. And I say crackers because you know you have to understand crackers in the context of food, condiment, never a main course. Food, condiment, something to be added to something. It'll never have the full strength. You've never had a full course meal that began with crackers, have you? It's always crackers in something. Crackers in soup, crackers with a meal, crackers and cheese, crackers and peanut butter. Now, brothers and sisters, you have crackers and civil disobedience. It wasn't civil disobedience, it was disobedience. So let's get to the nitty gritty, brothers and sisters, because I'm sure you all saw this, but there's one picture that told it all. It was a guy in the Capitol building. Oh, look at Shamel. He says, "Yeah, brother, we freaked out. It's like a horror movie." Yes, it's a horror movie because somebody had to sound a bell for those people. You ever heard of Pavlov's dog? The Pavlov dog experiment. The dog was trained that when he heard the bell, he would start salivating, and it was the same thing. Trump just rang the bell, and they all started salivating, and that salivating was appealing to the animal nature, appealing to the lack of logic, appealing to the lizard brains. You literally had people going, "We went in there because we weren't safe." Did you hear what I just said? They said, "We went in there because we weren't safe from the police." This is backwards. This is, you take two people trying to exercise, stand your ground, the police and the protesters. And by the way, they don't tell you this. The NRA is not going to tell you this. But after stand your ground was enacted, doing your homework or doing my homework, doing a little research, the major victims of stand your ground law, you would think it's black people. No. The major victims of stand your ground law are white men. They kill themselves at almost a 28 to 29% higher rate than before stand your ground. I'm telling you this because we're dealing with some confused people. Now let me bring it back to the center, if I can. Let me explain to you further what 2 o'clock in America means. When I said with Donald Trump is always 2 o'clock, there's a backside to that. Because in that joke, I'm saying without hesitation that we've become conditioned to this behavior. His behavior has to be so extreme now to get our attention. We're used to his foolishness. We're used to his lies. And only because it was an election year and there was a price that had to be told. All of a sudden, you got to put up or shut up an election. Only because of an election year do we see this man for the desperate individual that he is. Do we see the people around him for the sycophants that keep feeding him and enabling him? The sickening part of it, brothers and sisters, is that when Trump is gone, and he will be gone, but when Trump is gone, Trumpism will not end because people somehow see a pathway to power doing exactly what he did. Even after this whole insurrection, if you will, and politicians went back and surveyed the damage of busted out windows, people have been traumatized. A person was murdered in a legislative house. And they still went back. Let me say it again. A person was murdered in a legislative house, and they still went back in that house to quote unquote do our job. Let me tell you what it is to be a Trump supporter. Are you ready? To be a Trump supporter, first and foremost, you can't believe in God. Say it again. You can't believe in God. You must believe in demagogues, but you can't believe in God. To be a Trump supporter, you have to believe that mercy and compassion come from this individual who routinely does not show mercy and compassion to people who don't look like him. And then in that space, brothers and sisters, there are all kind of players along the way. There are all kind of players along the way. Sister saying this, I appreciate you. Thank you, brother. Trump and Biden just saying no different, brother. There's a lot to be said there, Shamel, but there's a difference. There's a difference. We don't want to get them confused. They're both politicians. Politics is the game you have to talk about. Now I'm going to put this up. The Zionists are implanted all over America. Trump is one. I've worked with one who asked me to talk to man Warfdin Muhammad to convince the Palestinians to move out. Then I was recommended to a lawyer. Once you talk to Zionists, you know who they are. You know, this is the reason why I put that comment up. Are you ready? Are you ready, America? My brothers and sisters, are you ready to shout out show? The behavior that you saw yesterday, you could have seen any other day in Gaza. In Gaza. With a militarized police. Hear what I'm saying? A militarized police who operate solely on stand your ground. In fact, they operate on this is my ground. They operate on this was never your ground. And so you never have legal, emotional, spiritual, or financial standing, brothers and sisters. And that was the playbook that came here. Believing in some regards that he'd have consensus. Believing in some regard that we were going to roll over or go to sleep. The show before this show was what? Georgia on My Mind smells like a coup to me. And I'm going to tell you something about DC, brothers and sisters. I'm going to tell you about DC. Where I took my shahada up the street on New Jersey Avenue 4th and New Jersey Avenue Northwest, Washington, D.C. is extremely close to where this incursion happened. But let me give you the real talk. That thing that happened there was about politics. Politics. And access to politicians. Not policy, but access to politicians. Number one. Number two, Northeast DC, Northwest DC, Howard all the way up, Southwest. I'm here to tell you, even Southeast DC, the Trump supporters knew better than to come in those neighborhoods. Because that's not Washington, that's DC. Richard Pryor once said, Washington, D.C., said the D.C. stands for dark country. It should stand for Donald Can't. And I'm saying, or Donald Condemn, because we're not going to have that. And what's going to happen, brothers and sisters, we're going to revisit this in about a year and a half. 2 years. And you're going to have somebody out of the GOP who's going to take this groundswell because they've connected with Trump in some way, or the Trumpsters or some way, and develop a concoction, brothers and sisters, that the narrative of this whole thing is not that they did this thing and they rushed the Capitol, it's that the job was not completed. And that will be, brothers and sisters, a slogan. The job is not completed. So we can celebrate here for a moment. We can celebrate the fact that, okay, Trump's leaving. Let me tell y'all something. Trump's a dog. D-O-G, dog. You know what it is? He's like a horse or a dog or animal. Take a horse. You ever seen a horse take a dump? I'm going to tell y'all something. A horse takes a dump and walks away from it. You don't see the horse, but you smell the doogie. And this is GOP racist Trump doogie. Do. Fecal presence. And what I'm saying is, it's going to stay here. And all those politicians in that house are going to act like it don't stink. Give them a week or two. Give them 2 weeks or two. Give them 3 weeks. They're going to act like that smell is not there in that White House. And that was the other part, brothers and sisters. Dig this. Out of all that mayhem, guess what he did? He went back to the White House. The White House, evidently, where we pay as citizens for his residence. Forget about 25, the 25th Amendment, all that stuff, impeaching. He should have been evicted. He shouldn't have been even allowed to go back to the White House. Because that's how we think. If thinking was a game of 360 degrees, there's a lot of people that couldn't get past 15 degrees. And the people that get past 15 to 30 to 40, 60, 70 degrees, all of a sudden they're outliers. They're crazy. And the people that get to 180 degrees, we don't even acknowledge those folks. There's someone between Einstein and a homeless person asking for a couple of dollars because the realities are just that drastic, but they're that close. And the genius of this situation, brothers and sisters, is you had the biggest photo op for why democracy does not work for African Americans, Muslims, Jews in some regards, Latinos, and my Native American brothers and sisters, and throw in women as well. It doesn't work because what you saw on the flip side is how we got our justice in America, which meant that we had to fight the powers that be. Now, we weren't in that White House, but we had to fight all kind of battles to change laws, all kind of battles to get equality, all kind of battles to get access. And here it is in a split second, the worst of the worst, the worst of the worst, the people with the worst intentions, the people with the worst information, the people with the worst attitudes can run up in a hallowed hall and do what the hell they want to. Say the Zionists, the Chinese too. The Chinese been pimping the illiterate white folks for a long time. Yes. Perfume is reconciliation. What if people don't know what reconciliation is? To reconcile something is deep. To ask for forgiveness, which will not be brought into this whole situation, brothers. I'm telling you now, nobody's going to apologize for anything because apologies are looked upon as weakness. This man, Trump, will leave office, I guarantee, without apologizing to anybody. And just the same as I said yesterday, I can say a lot of things, and I showed you guys Donald Trump and E flat. What I remember about that particular student that would urinate on the floor at 2 o'clock on the dot was the fact that we gave him new clothes. The fact that we tricked him in terms of the clock. We would manipulate the clock so it never really hit 2 o'clock. We just make him go to the bus. At some point in time, the students and I said, whatever it is, Mr. Moss, he just can't help it. He just can't help himself, Mr. Moss. And that was our epiphany for the rest of the school year. It's that at 2 o'clock, this guy was going to do. I'm here to tell you, when he moved to another school, we were happy. We were happy. But in the midst of the happiness was concern. And the concern was he wasn't a bad kid. He was actually a pretty pleasant kid. But something had happened to him that traumatized him, that at 2 o'clock, this is the way he expressed himself. And as you watch Donald Trump, our first duly elected, emotionally disturbed president, and I do not joke when I say that, our duly elected, emotionally disturbed president, is that he knew what he was going to do. He just had to figure out a way to shape the culture around him so it all looked normal. Let me give you guys a definition of when a child is defined as or described clinically as severely emotionally disturbed. What it is this. They say that the child's behavior is so extreme that they can't function in a regular education setting. That's the clinical definition of a severely emotionally disturbed child. Their behaviors are so extreme that they can't function in a regular education system. Well, brothers and sisters, think about this. What happens when the environment is so extreme and you enter into it a person who's extreme too? What I'm saying is, this environment that Trump, he can't take credit for it. It's always been there. It just needed a reason to come out. It just needed support, brothers and sisters. It needs support and water to nurture it. A seed planted in the ground, it needed space to grow where nobody would stomp it out. And that became part of it. It was part of a process of an election. And when it grew up, you ever see a plant grow up and it starts leaning, you have to put something on it so it'll grow around it so it'll support it? That's support, brothers and sisters, with this idea of democracy. And this idea of democracy fooled everybody. Well, not everybody. Fooled a lot of people that really believe in democracy because it works for them. But not the people who have to fight for it. Not the people who have to fight for opportunities or the people who have to fight for justice or equality. No. They're the people who benefited from democracy. They're the people who benefited from these laws, going all the way back to the time of slavery. I'm here to tell you, you can't fool a slave. But I'll tell you this, according to those laws and the clinical definition of being severely emotionally disturbed, what happens when a child who's severely emotionally disturbed makes the environment around them severely emotionally disturbed? You know what happens, brothers and sisters? That child messes around and damn near gets reelected. I'm Preacher Mars. This is a shout-out show. Take care of yourself. See you soon. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you again. See you tomorrow.
Hey everybody, this is your brother Preacher Moss. Listen, I hope that you enjoyed your shout out show experience. We'll be back with the next show, the next shout out show. A simple ask before you go, please help your brother out. Click that subscribe button, click that notify button, and I'll see you again on this side of the microphone. You probably wonder what that smell is. That's me. I smell good. And the reason I smell good is because I use oils from terrorism. So I'm not saying you can't smell good. I'm not even saying you stink. I'm saying you have the opportunity to smell exquisite. Check out terrorism.com for some of the best oils and scents in town.